Welcome into the Sikkim 365 post-game show. I'm Paul Catalina, Garrett Ross producing. Sorry, I got to move the mouse here and get ready for this post-game show, which, Garrett. Texas State tops Baylor 40-31, 254-339-1122. Go ahead and give us a call. Let us know your thoughts. This game for Baylor was regrettable on so many counts. And early thoughts from me, Garrett, are the offensive line was very poor. It was not their best day. It is not one that they're going to hang their hat on. The defense was overmatched all day long, and really, you give up 42 points. There's really not a lot to hang your hat on.
No,
and Baylor is one of the two legit upsets today, and the first one was Deion Sanders in Colorado beating TCU, and this one an even larger upset than that as far as point spread goes. And I mean, G.J. Kenny came in ready. I heard the announcer say something just as we were going. I'm thinking about it. Look, it's certainly a factor is that all new players, new coach, no film on this group of guys all together had to make it challenging. But the bottom line is if you're Baylor and they're Texas State, usually you have better players. And tonight, I don't know if that was the case for really.
For me, definitely not from the skill position. I think when you look at what Texas State was able to do offensively, TJ Finley was the best quarterback on the field. I know he caught a lot of hell because people would look at what he was able to do at Auburn and LSU, and he was inconsistent, right? Like we saw it a couple of times tonight where he would go and run the ball. Baylor was able to strip it. That was some of the stuff that he would do on a regular basis in the SEC. But so when he comes out, that's what made me a little nervous. Baylor's youthful secondary, because TJ Finley has played against the best of the best, and I figured he would be able to take advantage of them. But having a receiver like Joey Herbert show up, that's not what I expected to see. And it was eerily similar to what we saw last year when Baylor went to Provo and BYU just torched them through the passing game. It's not a good look. I really was thinking Baylor could dominate the trenches, right? We know Texas State flipped this roster. You brought in 53 players. You brought in the skill position, right? You had a corner from Oklahoma. You had a corner from Missouri. But most of your interior linemen were guys that GJ brought over from Incarnate Word. And to me, I thought the gap from coming from FCS in the trenches would be more significant. But Baylor looked like an FCS offensive and defensive line tonight.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And look, I'll tell you bright spots. We're going to get to the bright spots first. I do like to do that early on in post-game shows, Garrett, because after losses sometimes it can get a little overly negative.
Right.
I do think, look, you look at Blake Shapen's final numbers, 21-31 for 304 and 2 touchdowns. Good. Now, there were some of those Blake Shapen moments where, didn't make the big enough play, but I think people may have learned a lot about Blake Shapen, toughing it out to that knee until he just couldn't go anymore. But you do have to be concerned because a lot of times these things happen on adrenaline, and we'll find out how healthy Blake Shapen is. Now, I know that the crowd was chanting for Sawyer Robertson, especially in that first half where Blake did not play that well and the offense was just stuck in the mud. But Sawyer Robertson showed you, threw 50%, the interception and the fumble, interception in the end zone, the fumble on the last drive. He did not prepare as the starter.
No.
And he didn't win the starting job, and there's a reason for that. Now, that is not to say that Sawyer Robertson one day won't be a really good quarterback for Baylor, but that day was not today.
No, I think, though, you saw the bright spots, right? If you go back to the play where he hit Hal Presley, it was like one of the first plays he even came in, and he caught Hal Presley on the fly route. He dropped it perfectly in position where the defender couldn't get to it. That was an excellently thrown football. You saw the bright spots. You saw the flashes. I think on that last play, though, when he was open, he was running the ball. I feel like he had a spot there once he picked up the first down where he should have slid. But at the same time, it's a young player in the moment trying to put his team on his back. And, he tried to be the hero, and it ultimately was the bad decision. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to fault him for that because he was trying. Those are things he's going to have to learn from. The rushing attack was something I was not I was a little weary of because – like Dominic Richardson, 17 carries, 111 yards, that's good. But Richard Reese, 13 yards. So I don't know about the balance and how you're going to work that out. But at the end of the day, we saw some flashes, and you're going to see young players like Sawyer Robinson grow. But at the same time, all right, as far as Blake goes, when he comes back out, you see him because he goes from a wrap to a thicker wrap to a brace. I'm wondering, man, should he even be out there? Are you risking more damage at this point? We don't know. We don't know what's happening, but that's some of the stuff I'm a little bit concerned about. Yeah, absolutely. And look, the offensive line was really bad tonight. I mean, really, really bad. The number's 254-339-1122, and let's go into the chat room, Garrett, and see what we've got here. From Randy Wright, I was mad that they put the Baylor game on a channel that I didn't have. Now I'm hoping they put all the games on channels that I don't have. Oh, Lord. From J. Dima77, what a terrible way to start the season. The team regressed, need major changes starting with the head coach. Well, look, here's the thing. This is also yes, the Thunder is going to be called down from the fans on Dave Aranda for this loss. This is the worst one he's had in the non-COVID times. Worse than the bowl game? I mean, the bowl game. I know, I get it. I'm just playing devil's advocate there. Were you even there? Did you even go? No, I watched that at home. Yeah. We somehow didn't need you for that one. I don't know. I can't remember what it was. There was something with that. Yeah, I know. I'm going to hold that grudge against you. That's fair. For a long time. I don't blame you. But, I mean, look, they've got right now, I remember Big 12 Media Days, people would come up to us and say, how do you think Baylor's going to be? I said, I think they're going to be better than they were last year, but I don't really know. And I don't know a lot about this team. And what I didn't know the most was the offensive and defensive lines and the skill positions. Now, I think the skill positions, I think we saw some good things, especially later in the game. Keatron Jackson, Hal Presley. I mean, Drake Dabney was going to have a good game. Right. Drake Dabney's a really good player. Drake Dabney would be one of the better players on most of the teams he plays for. Yeah, he would. He's a good player. But Dominic Richardson looked like Dominic Richardson. I mean, there were things that looked like they were supposed to. But it was just the offensive line being as bad as it was I expected him to have some growing pains, but to get overworked, not overworked, but outworked by Texas State was really, really surprising to me. I did not see that coming at all. No, and I've really, coming into the game, I thought, well, all right, so we mentioned both upsets today, right? We mentioned this one and going back to Colorado beating TCU. I felt like Colorado's offensive line would look the way Baylor's looked tonight. It was totally the script flipped. It's crazy because we kept hearing all fall camp about, this is possibly the most athletic group. And you had people like the Barrington brothers come over and be anchors. But, man, they were just getting blown off the line every single time. And, how you can't even establish any rhythm as an offense. So I don't want to put it I know Shapen is people are going to go at Shapen and blame him for a lot of this, but man, it's not. I'm giving him a pass on some of this because of the poor offensive line play. Yeah, absolutely. And look, who's coming in next week? One of the toughest teams in the whole country in Utah, who even without some of their starters is just a very physical team. Absolutely, a very physical team, and so. Man, it is really, really, really distressing if you're a Baylor fan watching this game tonight and going, okay, well, the secondary looked young, and everybody knew the secondary was going to look young.
The defensive and offensive lines, though, did not show up for the lion's share of the game. And because of that, like, you didn't really get to even see what the better parts would have been. I mean, TJ Finley pretty much did what he wanted to outside of a couple fumbles, which kept Baylor in the game. I mean, honestly, both those fumbles don't happen, then we're not even talking about Sawyer Robertson coming in with a chance to end this game. We're talking about Sawyer Robertson coming in for mop-up duty. Like, those things are really concerning. Absolutely. Really.
I was impressed with Jonah Burton. That was one player who really stuck out to me. You know, this is a guy who is stepping up while Jordan Neighbors is unavailable, and he's making the most of his opportunity, making the most of his moments. And I think you need more players like him to step up. I would have liked to see player like Armani Winfield come out and have the type of production that Jonah Burton had. I'm still wondering where that's at. You know, Hal Presley was really impressing. He's shown some flashes in the past, but he is a big body who can make key plays. And then I was a little apprehensive at first, like throughout the first quarter with Keyshawn Jackson. I was like, okay, where's the flash? Where's the flash? And he finally started turning it on, and he made that miraculous catch in the end zone where he mossed the guy. And you can see the potential there, but you've got to get the line to play better to get your playmakers established, man, because if you don't, they're in for a long, long season.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we've got 3 calls here. Let's go to the phones. Ryan in Frisco, you are on the Sick 'Em 365 post-game show. Thanks for your call. Ryan, are you there? It's on that USB port, I think.
It's up.
It's up. Huh. Okay, Ryan, don't go anywhere. Let's take a break. We got to figure out a technical issue here. Garrett, let's go to the break. When we come back, Ryan in Frisco will take your call. Just keep holding. Everybody else, please keep holding as well. This is the Sick 'Em 365 post-game show.
Cars priced right, both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533, Chuck Verno at 720 North 64th Street, Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Furno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
Welcome back into the postgame show. Sorry about that little technical snafu there, but now, Ryan in Frisco. God bless you for holding on and bearing with us and calling back and whatever you did.
My bad, Ryan.
Yeah. 42-31 the final score. Ryan, go ahead. I'll do the Fraser Crane. I'm listening.
No, hey, Paul, how you doing, man?
Doing great.
All right. Hey, question for you guys. So, I thought our quarterback play was actually pretty good tonight. I think Chapin battled hard. I'm curious on your thoughts on, I'm a big Aranda supporter. I'm not after any coaches or anything. I'm curious on, what do you guys think of, does our team take on the personality of someone who's very calm and stoic? I just feel like when our team goes out there, we don't have a ton of fire and passion and, just that energy that we've expected under Rule and Art Browse and team. And, again, huge Aranda fan. I think he's a man of integrity. I love what he does for the guys in the program. But in this day and age of realignment, I'm curious on how long the shot clock is on something like that. So just curious on your guys' opinions.
Ryan, thanks for your call. Certainly appreciate that. 254-339-1122. Yeah, I do. I think it's good, though, if they take on the personality of their head coach. And I do think that there are coaches on the staff a la Matt Palage who are there to help fire them up. I do think, though, that Baylor is in a weird place when it comes to talent.
Yes.
I think they're in, I'll call it a transitional phase right now, because I think they've got some good players. They've got a lot of inexperienced players, but they're also in a time where they're trying to figure out who you can not only get to come here, but who you can afford to pay.
Yeah.
And I don't know, especially in the transfer portal era. If you want, and that's, look, Texas State's not paying out a bunch of money for these transfer portal guys. G.J. Kinney, went in and he did find some guys, a little bit on the end of the rope. T.J. Finley is a grad transfer from Auburn. Malik Hornsby could have still been in the SEC had he been willing to change positions, but he wanted to play quarterback, and no one wanted to hear that from him. Now, he may wind up proving everybody wrong, but right now he's the backup to T.J. Finley at Texas State. They've brought in a bunch of other guys. He's got guys from UIW. He's got guys from all over the place. He's got guys from Oklahoma coming in. And he got maybe a bunch of guys that, at the end of the line a little bit, and because there's a lot of juniors and seniors and grad transfers on his roster, and he had so many. Dave Aranda, this is his biggest foray into the transfer portal, but they were in on Jack Besh, that was from LSU,
right? Yeah,
but he went to TCU. So they're balancing all of that. And I don't know. I think right now that's what they're trying to figure out is who they can be. I mean, who can they be, and are they does this team have a lot of talent? I'm not totally sure that they are as talent rich as maybe people think. I don't think that's necessarily a knock on the coaching staff, but I do think that they are trying to figure it out.
I think they might be a victim of circumstance where you're in a situation where ideally, your location is surrounded by programs who are going to go out of their way to spend and bring in the right players that fit they're just going to load up. And I think it's only going to get even more difficult for Baylor until they figure out how to navigate NIL. When you look at a program like SMU, who just got brought into the ACC, and their pockets are deep and they're willing to spend, and they're in a market where you have a lot of talented players who, even if you leave the Metroplex, you can come back. I think Houston will benefit from that. UCF. Baylor's not in that position, and they're going to have to figure out a way where if you can't spend, then you got to do an elite evaluation in the transfer portal. But that's the thing, is like they have to go and get a certain type of player, and I don't know how that's going to transition going forward in the new era of college football.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know. It's going to be tough. All right, let's go to Kyle in McAllen, Texas. Kyle might be running for the border after that game tonight. Thanks for your call, Kyle.
Listen, I would like to disappear after Washington. That was incredibly disappointing. I think, Paul, you hit it. I think, first of all, we can't blame this loss on NIL. We got completely dominated on the O-line and defensive line. Completely dominated on both sides. Evaluating talent, I think you're exactly right. We have whiffed on what we're doing on evaluation. We have whiffed on some coaching hires, it seems like. We've also kind of have lost all things on the momentum side of recruiting. And I let me tell you, no one was a bigger Dave Aranda fan than I was, especially down here living on the border. I mean, I was all in on him, but these mistakes that seemed to be building, and we gave him a pass along the way. We were like, hey, he made a mistake. He was forefront. He was upfront about it. And he was talking about it. But wow. I mean, this team doesn't – I went to a couple games last year, and we didn't look like we were even wanted to play the game. And tonight, again, I hate to put this back on the head coach, but I'm going to tell you, the talent level, the evaluation, what we've seen has been whiffing on. But it makes me think the reason our D-line was so good during the spring because our O-line was so bad, So – I don't know what to say. It's such a disappointing loss in the start to the season.
Yeah, it really was. And Kyle, thanks for your call. We appreciate it. Look, there is. We're gonna see like what's going on because Baylor did not build off the momentum of being the Big 12 champs.
Nope,
they did not. Now, granted, that also hit at a weird time when it came to recruiting and transfer portal and NIL and what you had to do and all that. Now, I don't think you can put this completely on NIL, but I do think it's a factor.
It's definitely a factor.
I think there's a lot of things that are a factor. TCU, now they lost today. I do think that there are some factors in that game that are outside the normal, this team's better than this team. That was 45-42. It went right down to the end. I do think there was like a big, particularly between Deion Sanders and Kendall Briles.
Yeah.
There was a big chip on the shoulder about that. Between Deion Sanders and the whole world, there's a big chip on the shoulder. Although, because people doubted him, and I say doubt one of the greatest athletes in the history of the world at your peril. The guy, like not only like the greatest athletes, but like one of the best guys in sports media and business, and like he's figured out a lot of things.
He gets it.
He's not 100%. Nobody bats 1,000. He's had his failures too, but he has a huge chip on his shoulder about proving to the world that he can do this. And so I think that was a little bit different, and Matt in DC is going to talk about that in a second. But I'll give some backstory on Deion as well when we get into that a little bit when people want to kind of compare and contrast. But for what happened today with Baylor, look, I've got to see them win games, and play better, like especially against a team like Utah, a team like Texas, Texas Tech, to see that Texas Tech might have the same kind of roster as Baylor. And then you get kind of slung on a couple of matchups here and there, which is what happened tonight. So if Baylor and Texas State have the same kind of roster, that's a problem, because Baylor was supposed to be one of those teams that was ahead of the new teams that are coming in. But right now, are you telling me, that this team's going to beat Texas or UCF? Like, if they keep playing like this, Texas, Utah, UCF, Tech, TCU, Kansas State, even Cincinnati, I don't know.
But during the preseason, I had them losing to every team you said except Cincinnati. So, I mean, it's it's just a weird time, man. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if I don't want to put it all on coaching. And I know that's like what happens, right? When a program starts to struggle, you put it on coaching. But at the same time, I actually realize that team that went to the Sugar Bowl and had the success was a lot of the most talent was the role players. And I need to see Aranda figure out how to navigate the transfer portal and put a team together, a roster together that could buy in, because right now it's like it's a slippery slope that they're on, and they cannot afford any more hiccups, because you bring up a good point. Like, they got checked today. What is going to happen next week against a Utah team who is twice as physical and talented as this Texas State team?
Two-time defending Pac-12 champions.
Yes.
That's coming in here. Two-time defending Pac-12 champions. Then you've got Long Island, and then you've got Texas, who is picked to be the Big 12 champion this year. Then after Texas, you go on the road, and you get to play the first Big 12 home game against maybe the team that's the most ready to step into the Big 12 of the 4 new teams in UCF. It is not easy the first month.
Not only that, but the bounce house is going to be juiced regardless. And they throw in, it's the 10-year anniversary of beating Baylor.
They're going to run Blake Bortles and Storm Johnson and all those dudes out there, Perriman, all the guys. They're going to run them all out there and say, hey, remember that time that you guys were too big for your britches and we kicked your ass in Phoenix? Yep. They're going to bring that up. So, like, Baylor is going down like a really, like, it is a tough road. Now, not to put too much on this game, because I do think that takes away from what Gary Joe Kenny GJ Kenny did tonight. Like, it was, they give them all the credit in the world. He figured out Baylor. They also got Baylor behind, like, the emotional 8-ball early on. That could all change, and Baylor could wake up out of their doldrums. But based on what we've seen, which is one game, they've got problems, and the schedule does not get easier for them. No. It gets harder right away. So this was supposed to be the game where you worked out your kinks and figured out, like, the new thing before you have to play. You know, they've got one more of those. They've got Long Island. But in between, like, that's in between Utah and Texas. So, yeah, there's a lot they've got to figure out. Let's go to Matt in D.C. Matt in D.C. I think he wanted to talk a little bit about Deion Sanders. Matt, thanks for your call.
Thank you for taking my call, guys. I just want to say, first of all, before I get into my rant, which is going to be pretty intense, I just want to thank y'all for the show, the way the show's been going. Sick of 365, you all have done a hell of a job since it started. So let me just congratulate you, Paul. Just everything. The show's been amazing. I listen every day. I know y'all have taken down the calls, or like not as many. Y'all have so many guests now. It's amazing. So just congratulate you on the success of the show.
Thank you.
That being said, I am going to say this now. Mac Rhodes, tonight, if you are not on the phone right now calling Deion Sanders and offering so much money to come and coach Baylor right now, I don't understand why. Because somehow
I'll tell
Sanders,
you why. Yeah. I mean, why? If you're Deion Sanders, why would you swap?
No, I'm saying he should be just calling him just to make the phone call. Because right now, here's my thing. I think Dave Aranda is a great coach. The problem is every time they pan to him on the sideline, I don't know the guy. I never met him, but my thing is, why do you look confused? Why do you look questionable? Just body language. And I will say this: we won a Big 12 championship with Matt Rule's players. Only one player that Dave Aranda has coached has been drafted. That is Siaki Ika. All of the championships Dave Aranda won with Matt Rule's players. Okay? It's year 4. This loss to Texas State is completely embarrassing. Matt Rule lost to Liberty. It was his first game in his first year. This is year 4, Dave, and you just lost to Texas State. None of those players play in the Power 5 level. If they could, they would. They don't. We just got embarrassed. Our offensive line was blown off the ball. Our defensive line was blown off the ball. What do you think Utah, Texas, UCF, you guys just said it. That I had a lot of hope for this season. It has just been completely diminished. It is completely ridiculous. You have Blake out there limping around He should have been pulled out way before. The guy was hurt, and you're just letting him play. And we panned to Dave, and he just looks like, what's going on? I'm like, and I feel like the team has taken on. I want a coach that is cool, calm, and collective. I love that even kill, but I feel like it's, from what I'm understanding, I'm great at reading body language. The body language I'm reading is like the team has taken on the attitude of the coach. We're like, oh, it's all good, it's okay, very stoic. And I'm very, very, very concerned with how this team could go this year. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I hope I am wrong, but I think our first win is going to be LIU, and I can't predict another win moving forward. I think Utah is going to come in here, beat the hell out of this. Texas is going to be just the talent level. Like, I don't understand the scheme. This offensive scheme is not made to come back. It's not made to win. It's like I can literally predict the play sitting on the couch. I was like, that's going to be a run. That's going to be a run. Oh, it's going to be a short pass. Short pass. Our offense right now is run it to the left, run it to the right, and then another short pass. And if I can read that from the couch, guess who the guys are the professionals who do this every day. And I just watched Deion Sanders. Take a one-win Colorado team, walk into TCU and beat the hell out of them and score 44 points, which against, Kendall Browse, who, hey, shout out to Kendall. It sucks seeing you on TCU gear. I love the guy. I love the Browse family. 500 yards offense, 40 points. And once again, we couldn't break 30 points. So until our offensive scheme changes, we're not gonna win great again. And I'm very concerned with the way the scheme is with Jeff Grimes and our talent level. If we have lacked in recruiting, we keep having to bring in the offensive line. We're not developing the offensive line. We have to get our recruiting up, and I don't know the path forward. But Mac called Deion tonight. I thank y'all guys again. I just want to congratulate y'all again on the great show. Keep it going, and we'll talk next week, guys. Let's just hopefully, maybe we'll score 30 against Utah. Thank y'all again.
All right, thanks, Matt. Look, Deion Sanders not coming to Baylor. Like, there's no scenario in which Deion's ever gonna coach here.
No,
like, don't think about that. Like, and I wouldn't think about getting the car before the horse on this. But this is a bad look for Dave Aranda. There's no doubt about it. I don't buy into the whole body language. Coach is not like. I think there's a lot of people like Matt's a fiery guy.
Right.
Matt wants a fiery coach. And Briles is fiery. Rule is kind of fiery. Rule's kind of in the middle. Briles, he was hyper.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even say like necessarily fiery, but he had some of that. Dave Aranda is completely stoic. One of the greatest football coaches of all time that everybody who's a Cowboy fan in this state worships, Tom Landry, was very stoic. So Tony Dungy, stoic. I mean, there's not everybody's Sean McVay, who's it looks like a bumblebee
right
on the side. Andy Reid's very stoic. There's not a wrong and a right way to be personality wise. Your scheme works, it doesn't work. Your talent evaluation works, it doesn't work. And I think right now, when it comes to both those issues, I think scheme wise, they made a really wise choice going to the wide zone when they inherited the players from Rule's team.
Correct.
Because those players fit it. Now, should they have stayed with that, given the players that are available in Texas and the ones that you can get based on the high school offenses here? I don't know if that was the best call, but it has worked for them.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's a really good point. I haven't even thought about it from that standpoint of the hotbed, your main recruiting area. Nobody runs the offenses that you're running right here. I mean, everybody's gone wide open. That's a concern.
Do you know why, Nebraska and Bill Callahan didn't work?
Yeah, because everybody there was so used to run it the opposite way.
So when they were going where Nebraska did really well was getting big corn-fed Nebraska, Ohio, Midwestern offensive linemen. Occasionally you go to California, but guys who ran in the option.
Yes.
And all that. And then, when they would go, and they would still be able to go get those guys, but they put them in the wrong system, right? Because all the high schools were running that. Look, Matt Rule came in and knew that in order to win in the way he needed to win to get them out of what was going on, he was going to have to change things up a little bit.
Right.
Because the guys that they had on the roster were all gone. Like, they were just gone. Mm-hmm. So we had to pretty much build the roster up from nothing, even though people kind of conveniently don't remember that.
Yeah.
Like, he had to build the roster up from nothing. And when he did that, he built it in his image. And so then when Dave Aranda came in, he said, well, we need to run the wide zone. And he tried to run a different offense with Larry Fedora, and it didn't fit because Larry Fedora's offense was not built for those guys. Larry Fedora didn't forget how to coach overnight. He just wasn't the right guy at the right time. So they changed. They go to Jeff Grimes. They run the wide zone, and what happens? They go from an awful COVID year to back in the Sugar Bowl and Big 12 champs because that was the right decision. And now that group of people in 4 years has cycled out, and they might need to make another scheme change. So, all that being said, we've been through a lot here in the last 40 minutes on the show.
Well, I want to say something, though, because going back to Aranda and being stoic and stuff, I do not have one problem with how Aranda carries himself. I actually love it. I think he embraces who he is. He's a damn good coach. My problem is, not my problem, but what I think people are missing is it doesn't seem like there are any other people on the staff that are bringing the juice. Like, you had people on Rule's staff. Like, Rule wasn't fiery all the time, but you had other guys who brought the energy. And I don't necessarily know that you have that down the line. And I don't know if maybe that's stemming from how the overall – maybe that's the hiccup, right? You're saying the overall hierarchy of how Aranda's doing things, but – I don't necessarily think that's it. I just think they need some people in here to infuse some energy in these guys because they have absolutely none.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they need, and I think they've got to hit on some talent. They've got to find, and they've got to find some diamonds in the rough, or these guys have to develop fast because next week is Utah. It's coming down the line. It is coming down the line, and they're going to have to deal with that. All right, well, that's going to do it for us here. My goal is always to get us out quickly, get the emotions out, and then move on. It's 10:30 p.m. We've got to get home, but look, this was not good for Baylor.
No.
They know it's not good. Let's not fire anybody yet.
Nope.
That everybody wants to do that. It's not a good-looking year for to open up and lose to Texas State. But let's also not dismiss what we saw from G.J. Kenny in game number 1. And G.J. Kenny is not going to be at Texas State very long, in my opinion.
No, he's going to be a Big 12 coach somewhere or somewhere soon.
Yeah, he's going. Also, let's also not forget about the mystique of the Fun Belt. Early in the season, in these non-conference games, the Sun Belt, they always get one. And guess whose turn it was in the wheel of crap? It was Baylor's turn in the wheel of the Fun Belt disaster. And there you go, Texas State, coming in and laying a beating on somebody. So
it happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. So thank you to everybody who's watched tonight, listened, whatever, called in. If you missed this anytime, just in the future, it's going to be available right here on the channel as soon as it's over. So you can go back and hear what people had to say. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. That's going to do it for us. Back on Monday, 1 o'clock to 2. My new show, The Triple Option, will be here. We'll assess this and many other games that happen on the weekend. Probably talk a lot about Deion Sanders on Monday as well. And we'll probably talk a little bit about Florida State and LSU. That's gonna happen. Garrett probably won't show up on Monday.
No, you ain't gonna show up. I'll tell you that.
So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then the main show, 365 Sports. Me, Smokey, Craig, every day. Monday through Thursdays now, all of us together, and then me by myself on Fridays from 3 to 6, and no triple option. It's a lot to remember. We'll put up a title card or something so you can do it. But thanks for watching. Appreciate everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk to you next week.